All right, let's get started. How about that? Let's jump in here. Got a lot of things I want to cover today. I want to just kind of lay out. I shared this with you last week. A little bit different focus today, and I like it. This is an interactive learning experience, and so it's not recorded to be a tutorial. It's recorded to be an interactive learning experience where those of you who've taken the time to join us have a major contribution in how the direction of the webinar goes. I've had people say in the past, I wish that you would just follow the agenda. I really would rather just follow the lead that you all give me. And I have an agenda, but sometimes you have a question, and let's knock out the question. Let's make sure that we make this an interactive learning experience, and we do our best to try to make that work for you. Second thing is I want you to support each other, and I've seen that with your love and appreciation of Rose and other people. It's always interesting to watch people's interaction with each other early as I'm waiting to jump on, and I really, really like that. So, all right, Sonia, good to have you as well. I saw Sonia made a post in the group a while ago that she needed to get her earbuds charged up. So glad you could make it. So glad that you could be here. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. I really do. We want you to add to that creative environment. I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Look beyond the how to the why. We're going to talk about the why a lot today. The why is really, really important, and I'm going to share some things with you about the why. Hey, Pete, good to see you. I'm going to share some things with you about why that I think will really help us to kind of set the tone for what we're doing in 2019 and make this an amazing year. So we're going to look beyond the how to the why, and that's the reason for the interactive learning experience rather than a step-by-step tutorial. Okay, I will show you steps, and we'll do that, but it's really important that you have an opportunity to be able to share and express and do the things that you need to do. Okay, and then most of all, we're going to have fun. Does that sound good? Y'all agree with that? So do y'all agree with that? It gives me an opportunity to take a drink of coffee. So. All right, let's do this. I have a little thing that I want to share with you this morning. Keep in mind that this is a quote, but I'm going to use the quote throughout this morning's webinar. I really like this guy. Larry Winget is a pretty interesting fellow. He's got a pretty interesting perspective on things. But I really like this statement. And this is basically what I had said last week to somebody who had tried and given up. It is the unwillingness to suck at something. It's the unwillingness to suck at something that holds most people back from eventually becoming great at something. I just really like that, because I think sometimes we let that, I don't know how to do this, keep us from mastering doing it. I mean, I thought about this as I was looking at this. As I was looking at this, and I saved this on my phone. I really like this quote because it really just hits us right where we need to be hit. If we're not willing to suck at something, if we're not willing to try and be really bad, we're never going to get really good. All right. I couldn't dunk a basketball until after I was 15 years old. I looked pretty ridiculous trying it. Okay. But I could do it until I was 38. Then it looked really ridiculous when I had to have shoulder surgery to have it repaired from that. But my point is, sometimes you have to just be willing to take that risk and say, let's do this, even if we do it partially. Gary Vaynerchuk said that the secret between entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs are people who are willing to ship. I'm going to get this out. Even if it's not exactly perfect, I'm going to get it out. I'm going to ship it. I'm going to make it happen. So very, very important. All right. Be willing to take that first step. And the first step, you're going to be really bad. I'm just telling you, just so you'll know, you're not going to be good at that first step. But you have to be willing to take it. And you have to be willing to do that thing that makes you a little uncomfortable. So we're going to keep that kind of theme throughout today. And because I want to emphasize the fact that you can make it. You can make it. You can go from suck to great. You can. It's entirely possible for you to do that. So uh, yes, move forward in imperfection or move forward imperfectly. However you want to say that, doesn't make any difference. Just be willing to move. We've watched Elle develop some amazing things as she's gone through the process and the steps, and sometimes she had some support from other people. But just understand that moving helps you to get better. All right. So having said that, let's take a look at some of the things that people posted in the group, because this was really, really cool. I don't know if Melody's on with us or not. I don't know if Melody's on with us or not, but she asked this question. This was Melody's question. She'd ask a question that, I'm going to tell you something, made no sense to me whatsoever. When she started using the letters of the alphabet, I was lost. But I knew that John knew. And I almost tagged John in this post when I saw it. I had a very busy evening and afternoon yesterday, and I wasn't available, but I did see this come through, and I started to tag John in this post so that he would catch it when he came in, because this is John's area of expertise. And I saw that, and then John jumped in, gave some amazing instruction here. That's the reason why you ask questions in the group. Thank you, Geraldine. Geraldine said, I used your tips about using the desktop options to drag and drop backgrounds for a series of permission graphics. It was sweet. And honestly, if you just start thinking about solutions, and we'll talk about that more later, but when you start to do that, it's amazing how much faster you can get at what you do. All right. But this was good. This is the reason why I encourage you to ask questions. I encourage you to post your images. I encourage you to share the work that you're doing and the things that you're. And when you run into something, our theme is what? What's our theme? We're here to help you make it. And I thought about that as soon as I saw Melody's post come up. I thought, Melody, thank you for posting that, because that's a question that not everybody would post in the group. But there are people here. There are people here who can help you. Rose, can you help Rob with his question there about the desktop platform? We shared the links for that last week, and it is in the group, Rob, in case you can't find it. But this was a great question, and John gave a very detailed answer. And by the way, I still don't have any idea what they're talking about, because it's not important for me to know, but they needed to know, and Melody needed to know, and John was able to help her, and I just think that's amazing. So that's the kind of camaraderie that we want, and up here in this rules, support one another. Here's a great example of support. This went beyond YouZine to something that would really be very beneficial and helpful to Melody, because she was dealing with a client. Great support. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. Got a message from Ray yesterday and said, can I share this in the group? And I said, absolutely, man. That's the coolest thing. I love that coffee cup. I do. And Ray made the comment to me about how he likes coffee about the time I was needing a cup. So I had to stop what I was doing and get a cup of coffee. But this is pretty cool. I like this. Ray said he's made this for inspiration, and he's going to have it sitting on his desk. How cool is that? I mean, I just think that's really, really cool. The other thing is, as the designer, you can have that coffee cup for under $8, right? I mean, that's pretty cool. Do y'all agree with that? I love the cup, by the way, Ray. I love it. I thought it was really, really good. The next thing I want to share today, Ken posted this, and I thought this was so cool. Don't be hesitant. You can make it. Don't be hesitant. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. And I love that. This is a great image of that. He had a little play on pheasant and hesitant, and a little play on the you can and the toucan. I just thought it was great. And I really like his use of the colors. I agree with that. And I just thought it was an amazing graphic and a great illustration of the kind of thing that we're looking for here. I'm not exactly sure where Ken got that from. He's asking about the colors in the background of the You Can Make It. Not sure where that came from. That might actually have been an image. So the next thing that I would like to share, Tony posted this. Great question. I'm going to talk about this morning. You could have taken more risk in 2018. You couldn't take more risk. The reason why people don't take risk is because they're afraid they're going to suck at something. So they don't take risk. And I love the question. Could you have taken more risk in 2018? Makes a nice little winter graphic with that video that plays. Tony is a video expert, and he's done a great job with the little video here. But I love the question. Could you have taken more risk in 2018? So Tony, thank you for that. I appreciate that. That was greatly appreciated by me and others. But that's a good question and kind of helps to set the theme for the webinar, the You Can Make It webinar, because we could have taken more risk in 2018. We could have, but we're going to change that today, and we're going to take more going forward. Okay, you can make it. So hey, we're good to have you on today as well. So then Gene posted this, and I'm gonna ask you if you and he put this. This is a video cover image for Facebook. And he's offered to give that to people. I mean, I thought that's pretty cool. It's pretty generous, Gene. Thank you for doing that. You can download it from the following page. Thank you. I appreciate that. Gene does a really good job with these video cover images. We've actually had Gene on one time in the past to demonstrate that for us. And may do that again in the future. We want to talk I may talk a little bit about video today and using YouZine with video and how we can do that. So thank you, Gene. I appreciate that as well. Now, that brings me to the last one. And the last one is this one. Where's your work? I looked down through the group. There was only the things that you see mentioned right here. These 4 things. Just those 4 things. Where's your work? I've titled this "The Missing Member." Where's your work at? I want to see the stuff that you do. Rob, we'll try to get to that day. I'm not really sure we will, but I'm going to try to get to that. I just mentioned it so that it'll remind me. If I get a chance to get to it, I will. But share your stuff. Share it with us. Sometimes it inspires us. I mean, I have seen Ray do some things that has been incredibly inspirational to me. I want you to share your stuff. I've seen Gene do things that has been an inspiration to me. We took Elle's little project and we turned it into some amazing things. And then she took it and went crazy with it and did a great job. But think about the value of this composite community that you have, so that we can do things like what you saw John do here on behalf of Melody, what you've seen when Tony inspires us by saying, did you take enough risk in 2018? That's the reason why we do that. Rob, the link is in the group there. That's the reason why I shared that, so you can see the link that's there. But where's your work? Share your stuff. Put some things out so that we can see what you're doing. It helps all of us. Now, I'm just going to ask you all to be kind, be supportive, do your best to make those things so that they are they're good and beneficial to people. Okay, can you do that for me? Let's share what we have. Let's do it in an environment here that's safe. All right. I mean, we've had and Ray reminded us here. That there's some things that you don't do. And one of the things you don't do is you don't use copyrighted material without permission. We had somebody who posted something once that was copyrighted. We all noticed it. We encouraged them not to go in that direction because it was going to be better for them. This is a safe place to do that. It's important to do it. James, there you are. Earlier today, I was thinking, well, James hasn't made a comment about sound, so I was worried whether y'all were hearing me. I hope James was okay. Maybe he took the week and went someplace. So, but glad to have you on, James. Glad that you could be here. So share your stuff. Would you please just share your stuff? And I want to see you. I want to see you put some work in the group. It's good for everybody when you do that. Ray says sharing is caring. It's absolutely true. You show your care for the group when you post your stuff. You're not doing anything that the rest of us won't cheer you on for. Nobody's going to go, well, that's a really dumb idea. Why did you put that in there? I'm not going to do that. What we're going to do instead is we're going to encourage you and thank you for your help and your inspiration. That's what we're going to do. And I can assure you of that. Okay. So I want to share some tips with you for a successful 2019. And these are just random things that are taken from today. Okay. Be willing to suck until you become great. That's number one. Be willing to suck until you become great, which means you're going to have to take more risk. This is what, let's commit to do this in 2019. Be willing to take more risk. Understand rather than complain. Understand rather than complain. I can't emphasize that enough. If people would seek to understand rather than complain. I don't know how many times I have to tell people, clear your cache and it'll work. Well, why do I have to do that? It's because it's a browser program and it gets full. All right. Just understand that. Don't complain about it. Understand it. Seek to understand rather than complain. When you move from complaining to understanding, it's amazing what happens. It changes your perspective drastically. Number 4, focus on solutions rather than problems. Let's start thinking about solutions rather than problems. And I'm going to show you an example of that in just a little bit. Next, push your limits. Push your limits. Thank you, Ken. Push your limits. Take this as far as you can. Take what you're doing as far as you can. And when you get to the limit and you don't know where to go, ask somebody and we'll help push you down the road. But push your limits as far as you can. The next one is master something. I'll never forget when I was in school, somebody told me something that has been beneficial to me my entire life. And that is dare to be ignorant of something so you can master something else. When I saw this post right here, I had no idea what RGBCMYK. I don't know what that is. There are people who do, and it's very important for them to know that. I don't know what it is, but they do. And it's important and it's valuable to them. And this was important that Melody knew that. John knew it and was able to help her with it. I choose not to figure out what that is. I choose to instead be ignorant about it so that somebody who's a master can share what they have. I'm a problem solver. That's what I do. I know what it is, Tony. I know that it's those colors, but I don't know why that's one versus the other. And it doesn't really matter. But it was really important that Melody know. And it was great for her to be able to get the information that she needed there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Geraldine. Sometimes the best thing is to know where you can get the info and who can answer it. That allows me to become a master at what I do. And that makes my life easier. If I know who can answer that question, now I get the most ridiculous. I get the most ridiculous questions. Sometimes people say, "Well," and you know what my answer is? Just click and find out. Well, somebody sent me a message one night, woke me up. What happens if I click here? Just click there and find out. Well, I thought it would be easier to ask you. Easier for who? Understand? All right. The last one. Don't be a goose. If you don't know what that is, you'll have to go back and listen to the replays from before because I'm not gonna repeat it. Okay. From Bertrand. Did y'all get the email from Bertrand on the 3rd? What was that? Yesterday? And this is a great email that Bertrand sent out about where we're going and why we are using that moniker, You Can Make It, and the direction that we're headed in. I thought that was an amazing email. I captured one paragraph from that. We believe that true success is defined by waking up with a smile. How important is that? Wake up with a smile. I see some people post sometimes in groups, not just ours, but other people's groups, things, and I go, did that person ever have a smile on their face? Facebook has this amazing feature for groups that you can click on it and see every comment that person's ever made. I saw one person the other day who made a comment. I clicked on that. They've made 17 comments in 2 years. Not one of them was positive. How do you wake up with a smile in the morning? Wake up with a smile and an urge to create beautiful moments for ourselves and for our loved ones, despite the hardship we may be going through on a daily basis. Really, really good comment. And then two things that were important. If you want to read about how Bertrand came up with the idea for You Can Make It, it is available at usign.com. You Can Make It. All right. So it's available there. The other thing, and I really like this one, Rob, you should be on, as a user, you should be on the email list. The other thing was, if you have a story about YouZine and how it's benefited you or your business or your life, or maybe something about the webinar, maybe something about the group, maybe something about your YouZine experience, then you can share that using that goo.gl/forms, that one there. Okay. So Rose, if you would post both of those links for me, I would appreciate it. You've got the first one there. Thank you. If you could post that second one sometime this morning, I would appreciate that. Finally, on the agenda, don't forget about the t-shirt designs. And when we talked about that last week, t-shirt designs. Now, I did this for one reason. See the image of my sidekick there? That's my grandson. I had that on my phone. And when you download from your phone to your Mac, it comes from an iPhone to your Mac, it comes in a weird file format that you can't import into YouZine. So I converted it to a format that I can load into YouZine. I resized it because it was huge, because it was a phone taken on it was an image taken on the phone. I resized it. I put it into YouZine. I removed the background, downloaded it as a PDF file or a PNG file, and then put it on here in less than 3 minutes. I say that for one reason. People say, oh, it's too much work. What's too much work? That's 3 minutes I was going to use one way or the other. How cool is that, being able to add that to that image? No response. Absolutely, Glenna. That's the reason why I did it. I want to make this stand out. And simple process, comes in an HEIC file or whatever that is, and I can't do that. All right, and so I converted it. Really easy to do, and then created this to put on top of this. So how much fun would that be? Let me just grab this image and stick it on here. Yeah, my grandson and his mother get to be extras in several of the things that I do, so it's kind of fun. Yes, I do get to make him a star for the day. Now, I'll say one more thing, and I hope you all caught this in Ray's post, because Ray said, yeah, the children always make it really cool. Kind of like your cat did, Glenn. That was pretty cool too. Ray said this. He said the Printify instruction that we gave a few weeks ago has added 30% to his return on investment. 30%. How many of you would like a 30% raise? Just answer that for me. How many of you would like a 30% raise? Absolutely. Ray, did you have to do anything different, or did you just have to do something different? Did you just have to do what you were doing in a slightly different way? Did you do something different, or did you do what you were doing in a different way? This is huge, folks. This is huge. 30%. Now, I want to show you something. We actually did that for the last 2 or 3 weeks, Ryan, and those are all in the group. They're all in the group. All of those Printify. And I can't remember what we called those. I think one of them does say Printify. I think the others say something about T-shirts, or T-shirts and print on demand or something. So this is a really important question. All right. Do you see this right here? How many times do you think I'm going to use that for the rest of my career at YouZine? Yes, I'm talking about the Facebook group. Do you think I'm going to need this? I'm going to need this particular design very often? Why would I ever use this again? I mean, how many times do I need to put 30% ROI on top of an image? Not very likely. The point I'm making is in answer to this question that was posted here about having 600 designs, and how long it takes to load them. Sometimes we save too much stuff. I mean, we just literally save too much stuff. And saving the stuff doesn't benefit me. It makes my life more complicated rather than making it easier. I'm not ever going to use this again. If I do, how long would it take me to do this? It would take me less time to create it than it would be to find it. Yes, purge. Get rid of some of that stuff. Hoarding graphics doesn't benefit you at all. I could recreate that faster than I can find it. Right? And besides, the next time it might be 28% return on investment. The likelihood it's going to be 30% is very, very unlikely. Just stop saving everything. Sometimes the reason why we end up with this situation is because we've saved too much stuff. And I'm trying to help you. There are ways to make this work, and there's ways to make it work really well for you. The next thing that I want to talk about is that when you have this situation that's described here, you can search for the names of your images that you have saved or your designs that you have saved. That's the reason why the name becomes kind of important. All right. Now, I use the word Webby to save things I'm going to use in the webinar. I may use just Webby. I might use Webby 1, 2, 3, 4. I might use Webby crazy, whatever it is. But I know it's going to begin with those first 4 letters, W-E-B-I. So when I put in W-E-B-I and hit search, every single file that I've ever saved with those 4 letters at the beginning is going to pop up in my designs. So I do have the ability to search. I can search those, and sometimes I have to think about if it's worth saving. Then there are some things that you can do. Okay, and you can give it a name that you can find easily when you search. Exactly. You can save them, and you can use them in your desktop version. Don't get lost in what you can't do. Find solutions to what you can. Don't get lost in what you can't do, but instead find solutions using what you have. No, it does not search through folders. The assumption is that your folder is going to be the place where you're going to look for that particular stuff. Absolutely. Smart file name is going to save you a ton of time. It's going to save you a ton of time. Now we're going to play with this dashboard a little bit because I think it's a grossly underutilized tool that we have. And instead we want it the way we think. And that isn't always the easiest way to do that. All right. And I may give you an example of that later. Let's get to the canvas. Are y'all ready for that? If you have any questions, Shay's just asked a question. I did answer that. But if you have any questions while I am changing screens, would be a good time for you to pop that question in and give me an opportunity to switch screens here. And I'll have Rose catch the questions as you do that. Okay. Takes a moment. I've had a little bit of a streaming issue this morning, as I do every Friday morning. And you say, what else is new, Eric? Not much. There we go. All right, tell me when you can see my dashboard. All right, good. I was a little bit surprised when people said that that it would be nice if we had a search bar. And we do, and it's right here. And so the question came up the other day, where did those table tents go? I put in table tent and found it. If you put in table tent and don't find it, one of two things is true. You no longer have the template club. And so those templates have gone away, or you need to clear your cache because it's pulling old scripts to make the program operate faster. It's pulling old scripts and you don't have access to that. So make sure that you have, when you're asking that question, make sure that you have cleared your cache. Yeah, it's not difficult to make a table tent. It really isn't. But I like to have that. And Ray, I do exactly the same thing. I have folders for different clients and for different projects, and that's a great way to do that. But yes, definitely group those things together by topics or whatever. That's the reason why when I put in here and I'm looking for, and I'm under templates, or I would go back to my designs, not templates, but go back to my designs. And I put in here, it's going to pull up everything that I've ever saved with Webby on it, right? And so I have all of those in here. And if you're not getting what I'm getting right here, then clear your cache, close some tabs, manage your computer well. It will help you drastically. All right. But you see, I've got everything that's ever been tagged Webby here. All right. If it hasn't been obvious by now, I'm in the hemp business. Okay. That's my real job. And when you look over here, everything that's ever been tagged with hemp pops up. Right? But I don't need to save everything. So that's the first thing. Don't save everything. Second thing is this. Have you ever saved something as a template? If I save that as a template, I've just saved it as a template. Now I go over here to select a template, because if there's something in here that I need to use on a regular basis, then I may want to save it as a template. Click on my templates, and there it is. All right. Manage your designs. If there's something you're going to use on a regular basis, I saved all of these as templates because they are unique sizes. That's the reason why I put them in as a template. And so these are exactly the same image. And typically I do that with templates. Okay. I do that on purpose. question here. Is there a quick way to invert? Yes. Yes, there's one button on there, Pete, that does that. When we get to the canvas, we'll do that. Show you that real quick. All right. When you look at this, what I've done, we had a paper, and that paper had various ad spaces that we sold. Now, I kept every ad space saving every single ad. Just download them to my computer. I don't need to save them as designs, right? Unless it's an ongoing contract with a client. And I save these because they're special dimensions. That makes sense to everybody? This is my blog post, and I actually use the Facebook medium ad size for my blog post banner. It's not exactly that size, but I like the proportionality of it. Are y'all still hearing me? Because the chat session got very quiet. I think sometimes we don't manage things correctly. We try to save every design because that's going to be special. But it's not special. What's special is the dimension. See all these that say custom size? I don't have to recreate that size every time. I know that this banner is going to be this banner is going to be that, and I have the size saved there. Same thing's going to be true with these blog posts, okay? How easy, you watched me last week do a very, very quick, what I call the workflow improvement, where I replaced the background and replaced the text. Boom, 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 boom. That's how I made 28 of them in an hour while watching a football game. Roll Tide. Do you see what I'm talking about? Are there any questions about that? Because I think sometimes we mismanage this part of our business. We mismanage how we do this. The things that I really needed to have, I just saved as templates. I did save this one because this was kind of fun. Y'all remember this? Remember when we did this? Yeah, saving as a template is a trick that we need to remember. Thank you, Rose. That actually might be easier for Pete to do. I appreciate that. I mean, this goes way back. There's the table tents from the time that we did the table tents. But those were things I saved. Somebody asked about a PowerPoint cover. Rather than worrying about keeping those dimensions, all I did was I created a template for PowerPoint. Tagged it PPT. Is this helping you? I'm just asking, does this help? Because when I see questions like I saw in the group and things like, I wish we had a search bar. Well, we have a search bar. I want to help you to minimize the amount of time you spend fiddling and maximize the amount of time that you spend designing. That's, if I can do that, I would rather spend 20 minutes on the webinar showing you how to do that than spend 2 hours trying to follow up with those questions that get asked in the group that we could have easily handled here. But I wanted you to see what those options were, because, and I agree, Gene, let's get rid of some of those old designs that we don't need to keep forever. I showed you last week when I download a design I'm going to upload to Facebook and be done with, I downloaded it's always named Usign because that's the default. And so it overwrites the last one. It overwrites the last one. I'm not writing a whole bunch of stuff to my hard drive because it's going to go up one time. I'm going to click download. I'm going to click upload, and it's gone. I'm never going to need to have that again. I'm reading your comments here. I apologize for the dead air space. Do I know approximately how many templates there should be? When you click on select templates, let's see what we have here. 3572 should be the current number. That should be the current number. I agree with what Ken's saying. If you just take a little bit of time, think out what you're going to do. I don't always do that as carefully as I should, but you know, I don't know how many design. I mean, think about this. I've told you before, there are times when this webinar alone takes me at least 40 designs to be ready. I've had as many as 40. Well, if I saved every one of those, I'd be going nuts between it and everything else that I do. So I try to make things really, really easy. I'm not ever going to use those designs again. So when I'm creating the designs, I name them Webby 1, Webby 2, Webby 3, Webby 4. Then I go through and put them in my agenda, my agenda thing, Keynote. I put them in Keynote. I'm not going to use them the next week. They're done, right? You save too much stuff. That's not good. That's not good. Thank you, Rose. Appreciate that. All right. Any other questions about this whole management of your designs and how to use that dashboard? Good. All right, then let's move on. I want to go over here. I was asked about this process right here. And obviously, this is not perfect. Did it need to be? I don't know, Rob. Let me answer. Let me talk about Rob's comment here. He says, "I like the way that I just like to say thank you for all the webinars. You make things simple and practical and very helpful." I don't know how to make things anything but simple. Make it as simple as you can. I absolutely loved what Einstein said. Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. And that's really what I try to do. Okay, so let's take a look at this image right here, because I was asked about doing that earlier. Somebody asked me how to do that, so I'm going to do it. Okay, we'll delete that. And see, you don't worry about this stuff because it's easy to do. Well, by the way, that saved that one. So let me get the original image here. Pull that one in. And see, can you see? You can't see my screen. The original image was an HEIC image, which comes from my iPhone, and it was 3,000 by 4,000, 3,000 pixels by 4,000 pixels. That's too big to go into the background removal tool. So I resized it very quickly. I just took it over to resizeYourImage.com and resized it, made it 1,300 by 1,800, and called it good. Now, what I did was I uploaded that into my system. So I've now selected that. We're probably going to run slow now because we're in the because I'm online. But there it is. So I'll delete this one from the background here, because there was a couple of questions that came up this week, and I was a little bit surprised people's questions. So let me address those. Now, the moment that I looked at this, and teach yourself to do this, the moment I looked at this, I knew where my problem areas were going to be, because Tyson's hair is almost the same color as the floor, right? That's really the only issue that I'm going to have, is Tyson's hair is about the same color as the floor. So let's erase the background here. And there is something I want to address. Now, I've covered the color of his hand, so I'm not going to worry about this color of the finger. I'm going to get it right there and call it good. But I know that his hair and the floor color is going to create an issue for me. So I'm just going to make sure that we've got all of these colors included here. And then I'm going to go to the erase tool. I'm just going to start erasing this and see how close we get. Now, you see how close we got already on the hair? So, in spite of the fact that it's the same color as the floor. The hood's a little bit challenging. Now, how close does that look? And how long did it take? I've got a tiny bit of cleanup on it. And while there were a lot of similar colors there weren't identical colors, so it could go real fast. This is an amazing tool. So I'm going to clean up this hair issue right here. Oops. And it may be a little bit. There we go. How close am I now? Oops. I totally agree. This background removal tool is, and I'm not going to make my dot any smaller. I did that on purpose because I wanted you to see how close you can get it, how quickly you can get it that close. It was good enough for what I needed it for. It looked just fine when I put it in the other image. The other thing is I cropped it off right here so I didn't have to worry about any of this junk down here, right? Because there's a hole right there that I would have had to make. No, just make it work, right? How easy was that? Okay, that's a good question, though. How do you make the brush smaller? It's right here. Click on this. These are your brush sizes right here. All right. So I could have made the brush smaller. I could have gotten a little finer detail, but that's good enough for what we were going to do. And again, always think about what you're going to do with it. Now, Gene says with the background image, the few flaws are hardly ever noticed, and that's true. They're almost never noticeable. Now, I hung that other one out in space, making it a little more noticeable than normal, but still works fine. Nobody noticed any of the flaws that were with it, right? So you make your brush size different over here. And then there was something that came up this week, and I wanted to talk about this because this happens all the time. Dale Parker had posted something in the group, and he asked a question, how come I'm not getting a transparent background? And the reason was because he had turned and inadvertently, rather it defaulted to that or what, I don't know. But when I looked at his image, I saw this. And what I saw was he had the white background on here. No, actually, Melody, you can actually use the scalpel to do curved edges, which is what I have to do with it the most. But when I saw this white background, I knew that he was saving it with a white background and not a transparent background. Can you all see that? And are you noticing that when you do that? So I went back over. I said, Dale, your background's set to white. Oh, how do you change that right there? And see, it should look like this. When you look at somebody's image like that, this should be the background, not this. Sometimes this tool is really helpful, though. If I need to be able to see what that's going to look like with a background on it, then I know what it's going to look like with a background on it, right? So just remember to click this onto transparent, because when you do, it'll save it as a transparent background. And there it is. Now, the other thing that people do wrong at this stage of the game is they don't have their background here set as transparent. They have it set like that. Now, look at this. Do you see this little divot in Tyson's head? He does not have a divot in his head. But when you do that, it starts to go, it begins to become less and less important, right? And as Gene had mentioned a while ago, when you have a a different kind of a background on here, like if I put this as the background, you're not going to notice it at all, right? But if I have a background, I actually have to remove this one. But if I want to save this as a transparent image, which is what I did in the keynote that I had presented to you earlier today, then I have to click transparent here, and I have to download it as a PNG file, because a PNG file will have a transparent background, a JPEG file will not. All right, any questions about that? I want to do one more thing before we're finished here this morning. I'll go back out to the dash and see if I have this. I'm pretty sure I do. I'm pretty sure I saved it. Oops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. My designs. Yeah, it's right here. All right, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this. I had this image for you earlier. This is actually that image is actually Tony's post. I took Tony's post from the group because I had downloaded it, so I could put it in Keynote this morning. I downloaded it. I brought it in, and all of this stuff right here, these are just simply masks. See that? See what I did? I don't think we use this enough either. This is I thought about this after Gene did his little graphic with the Griswold's grocery getter in it, which I thought was really amazing. I wanted y'all to see this because it's not difficult. I literally created a Facebook post by taking an existing Facebook post and doing this with it, right? This even has Tony's picture here. You see that? This, I wanted to create a banner or a border around the outside of it. So what do you think I did? I went up here. There it is, right? This was his post. There it is. I wanted it to look like a post. So I put a border around the outside of it. Make sense? And by putting the border around the outside of it, it didn't have to be perfect. Because when I removed the border, what do you notice? I still have a line over there. Okay, just make it go away. Easy stuff. Don't make this too hard. Now, I have comments down here. I have people who have liked this. I didn't want anybody to like it. I wanted them to unlike it, right? This is not supposed to be a happy post. It was supposed to be share your post. It's the missing member. I've decided not to post because somebody might see it. But these are tiny. Can you see these down here? That's tiny stuff, man. Even if I blow it up, it's tiny stuff. How do you get these tiny things over here reproduced over and over? How do you do that? Anybody remember how you do that? I did one. I duplicated it, then I used the replace tool so they would all be the same size. right? Do you remember that? That was 3 weeks ago. And then I did it again last week and called it workflow. This is one of those. I created this in about 3 minutes. Very easy. Knocked this right out. All right. Any comments or questions before we go? Because we're up against the end of the hour. Yes, Rob, we've done that a few times. I just don't know where they might be right now because they're back a little bit when we changed platforms. It went by too fast for me too, Glenna. I just want to kick the year off correctly. I want us to be thinking in the right direction. Thank you all for joining me. We'll be back here next week, same time, same topics, okay? Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you taking your time. Have a great weekend. I look forward to talking to you next Friday, same time, same place.